Hey everybody, Victor here, and I got some channel news for y'all. You see, we just broke 1,000 subscribers, which is a milestone for any YouTube channel, but it's a huge one for me. You see, when I started doing this, I never thought I'd get to 100 subscribers, and 1,000 was so far outside the realm of possibility, I never even thought about it. So to watch it actually happen has made my day a very interesting and mind-boggling day. And I wanted to say thank you. First, I wanted to say thank you to Ludi, who helped organize the final push over the 1,000 by calling on his own subscribers to get us there. Ludi, that was an amazing thing you did, and I will never forget it. Thank you. But more importantly, I want to say thank you to everyone else that's a part of this community. I don't think you guys recognize how awesome you are, because I've seen other channels, and I'll see comments in their videos, and people will of course watch it. But in this community, I have seen people ask questions and other members of the community help throughout multiple comments to help people get through a bottleneck, or to solve a problem that they've run into, or to comment on things that I either had to cut for time, or I simply didn't even think about in my video, just to help make sure other people had an easier time. That is amazing for all of you. And I wanted to say thank you for making this community what it is, because you guys are just as big as part of it as I am. So truly, thank you for joining me on this wild ride, and I hope you stick with me because I'm going to keep doing it. For no other reason than the fact that if I'm not playing Hawaii, who else is going to be playing and making guides for Hawaii? Let's be honest, I'm kind of going to be it. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and if you do, like and subscribe, because I'm not going anywhere. But if you want to see a particular country, let me know in a comment below, because if I'll make a guide for Hawaii, I will absolutely get around to yours. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with a nation guide for Korea. To start the guide, let's do something that is probably a first for this channel. Let's talk about the estates and privileges when they are incredibly relevant to your game. Normally, these are simply bonuses that'll make your game easier as you play, that'll make your country stronger, etc. However, as Korea, your starting estates and privileges are hyper important, because if you grant certain things, you're going to make your future missions that much more difficult. Now, if you notice, there are some things that I normally grant that are lacking, and I'll talk about those in a second. However, there's one here that you would almost never see me grant, and that is the inwards perfection. You see, this is a pretty nasty privilege. First off, it increases the Gangmam scholars' influence by 20, but their loyalty only by 10, meaning it's really hard to revoke this. At the start, you have just barely more loyalty than you do influence. However, anything else you grant is pretty much going to make it so you have more influence than loyalty, making it really annoying to try and revoke. On top of that, you have to wait 25 years to revoke it, and since you start the game with it, you're kind of stuck. But the worst part about it is that you take a stability loss whenever you declare war. And the way the game is coded, it's not just stability. Whenever you declare war and you would lose stability, you gain an equal amount of war exhaustion. On top of that, you gain aggressive expansion. So if you declare war with this on there, just by declaring, you lose a stability, you get 1 war exhaustion, and you get 25 aggressive expansion. It's really nasty. I've even had one person tell me that they tried playing Korea, they couldn't figure out how to get rid of this, got frustrated, and quit. Here's the thing. This is not actually a problem in the slightest. And I mean at all. The reason why is if you look at your mission tree, you have a mission in here, specifically build a force limit. Every other tag, when you get this mission done, you'll get 5% more morale and 5% reduction in maintenance of land units. So it's not great, but it does help you win that early war. For Korea, however, it does that, plus removes that privilege. All you need to do to get that mission done is simply build 4 units, or, even better, simply hire the free company, because it is way over that amount. Meaning, just hire it when you're about to declare, it'll revoke the privilege, you declare, and you're golden. So, easy peasy, not a problem at all, having inwards perfection as Korea. Now, the things you are missing here are the things like patronage of the arts. Normally, I would grant this every time. Free prestige, especially at the start of the game where I'm starting off at negative prestige. Why not? It'll let me scornfully insult, throw away a bad air, whatever I might need. The problem here is, with anything that reduces your income, like national tax modifier, or monopolies which take away your production income, you are making a very big mistake, and do not grant these for a while. The reason why is you have a mission right here. This requires you to hit a certain amount of monthly income. After expenses doesn't matter, so if you want to hire advisors, that's fine. Have an army, that's fine. Just your base income, which is all the stuff on the left-hand side here. You need to have your income up to a certain point, as well as have 250 ducats in the bank. The reason why you need to do this is because if you do not complete the following mission by 1470, you get some pretty hefty penalties the entire game. You will get 2.5 unrest in every province, as well as lose 10% of your tax income for the game. You cannot get rid of it. Even if you complete this mission after that fact, it does not get rid of it. It gives you 15 legitimacy. It is really annoying to not get this done. So what you need to do is not grant anything at all that will reduce any amount of your income until at least you get this mission done. Once you've done this, grant whatever you want. Get the patronage of the arts, grant the monopolies, anything you want to do. Just be sure you get that mission done first. Now, as far as getting this income up, that'll be deving, that'll be conquering some land and building buildings. But for now, you should be good. Now, let's go from there and let's talk about your military and your diplomacy. Your military and your diplomacy is incredibly easy to start. You're going to take your army, you're going to merge them together, you're going to take your navy, you're going to merge them together, and you're going to mothball and turn off their maintenance. At the end of the day, even though you're able to get rid of that privilege allowing you to declare, there's nothing for you really to declare for the first couple of years because you start off with the truce with Jiangsu, and your rivals, you only have Jiangsu as a rival option, and they start off rival to you. So you're kind of locked into peace for a while anyway, unless you choose to try and attack Orochoni over here, which you can attack them later. And right now, you just need to focus on making sure your economy is doing good, your dev is up, all of that. So just hold off on wars for a second. It's slightly boring. It'll pay off in the long run. But with that, your military is set up. Now, as far as your allies are concerned, simply go in here into your macro builder and see who is going to be willing to. Haishi will usually ally you after a month or two. Solon you can usually get if you improve relations with them. Haishi is the only one you're realistically going to need because they are a good distraction when you attack Jiangsu because they will come in on a promise of land. So just go ahead and start improving relations with them. If you want, improve relations with Solon. You can also get Ashikaga as an ally, but that's a bit more rare. And it's not a very useful ally. It just prevents anybody from attacking you immediately. And lastly, go to Ming and royal marry them. While this will not actually do anything really for you in terms of diplomacy, it will make it so it's a little bit easier to replace your heir should your heir suddenly find himself slipping down the stairs, because he's not exactly great. So with all of that, your military and your diplomacy is now done. The last bit of setup for you to do is simply try and find any economic advisors. So find ones that'll boost your economy, either your tax income or your trading efficiency. You can go ahead and hire them. You can hire one for each slot if you really want to, but it doesn't really matter that much. Just try and get them because you can absolutely afford it at the beginning. And with all of that being said, time to unpause and let's go ahead and go. Now, for the most part, you're going to be sitting here and waiting for a bit. The reason why is you need to start deving things up, you need to get your force limit up, you need to get some claims down in Jiangsu, and wait for that truce to expire. During that time, it's really just waiting game. You can do this if you want. I know some people like granting the estate statutory rights. I am not one of them, but you can absolutely do what you want to do. There is no penalty one way or the other. But with all of this being said, at this point it is time for me to pause the game because I need to wait and see what ends up coming up. And I'm waiting for about Renaissance to spawn because that's when this truce ends. So I'm going to see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. So Renaissance has not spawned, however this event did fire when I was right about to attack Jiangsu. And I wanted to talk about this event because in all of my test runs, this was a fairly regular event for you. And it's a pretty strong one. You see, throughout your game, you're going to probably have an heir that you're not going to like too much, like your starting heir. But if this event pops up, for a stability, you can replace him with a better one on average. All you have to do is, make your states mad, and you'll even gain some harmony out of it. So just be aware, it might not be that worth it to replace a kind of bad ruler, because then you're taking a prestige hit, where you might get this instead, where at least you know what you're getting to replace him with. So just to be aware of that. Now, I am about to attack Jeonju. As I said, Renaissance hasn't spawned yet, but I did take the techs. Take the techs before you spawn Renaissance because it really doesn't help you until then, and then use your monarch points to dev push it. You have plenty of grassland and decent provinces to throw it into, so just pick one and go for it. I will also say this fort down here at the start, go ahead and delete it. It really doesn't do anything to help you other than potentially reduce some of the devastation if somebody's blockading you, but your Korea, usually you will control the waves. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and get this started. Now again, I'm going to call in Haishi. I'm not going to have to promise them land because I got enough favors. If you need to promise them land, go for it. But let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to make this my war goal. And with that, I'm going to see you guys in just a little bit because I have a war to fight. See you then. And welcome back. The slightly longer than normal and more annoying war is finally over because, well, mountain forts suck. But it is time to take them out, full annex them, even if you do have to give your ally some land, because you're about to turn on your ally, and it's better to take the land from him than have a long truce timer with a one province minor. Take all the money you can and peace out. Doesn't really matter what the coalition is, because you have mountain forts. There's nothing that can really intimidate you. With that, just go ahead and fall back, core everything up, wait for your war exhaustion to tick down a little bit. And again, you are now basically just chilling for a little bit. Haishi should break their alliance with you at this point, but if not, oh well. I do have Renaissance spawned in my provinces, so I just need to wait for that to start spreading so I can embrace it. And now it is time to start working on my next mission after this one, which requires me to have everything in the Korea region. So basically your starting provinces have at least 6 development. So go through them one at a time, just make sure they have 6. I personally prefer using tax dev because right now that increases your economy more than diplo dev, but you can do whatever one you prefer or whatever one you happen to have available. With all of that, time to pause it again because I need to wait to let this tick down, get rid of some rebels, go after Haishi, get some claims down, and get after my next targets. So I will see you guys in just a little bit because I need to start consolidating in the region a bit more, and that just takes time. And honestly, just find who the weaker target is, attack them, consolidate their land, use your diet mission as much as you can because sometimes you'll get a, oh, subjugate Oronochi, and you'll have a CB to subjugate the whole thing. So do use your diet missions as much as you possibly can, but with that, I'll see you guys in a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. As you can see, the Age of Reformation is about to start. However, before we get into the strategies and tactics of the Age of Reformation, let's talk about what you guys missed during the Age of Discovery, because then you can try and mold that to your own game. So yes, I did take Manchuria. This is not exactly surprising, as you need a power base to do anything else in this game, and they're easy targets. So again, just find the one that you can easily attack, and be aware if, let's say, 3 of them ally together, you can knock one of them out of the war because other than Jeonju at the very beginning, no one really has forts. So you just walk in, drop somebody off on their capital, quickly siege the rest of their land down, and they'll peace out with a white peace. So try and knock people out to give yourself an easier fight if you can. But, however, the difference here is Ainu. Ainu in the current patch has Sakhalin, which means they will get involved in these Manchurian wars a lot more often. They even took this land from Nivik early on. Now, here's the thing. Usually they might get attacked and they might lose to Sakhalin, because they tend not to have any allies. However, if you can get north fast enough, and by fast enough I got to them about 1475, you're going to be able to save that and then get a CB on them with a claim. As long as you can accomplish that, you can invade them not only in Sakhalin and in Manchuria, but the island itself. Because again, no allies, and on top of that, no real fleet. Your fleet that you start off with will sink their fleet. So you're able to invade them. Why is this good news? Because since you can now take out Ainu, you now have a toehold into Japan proper. All you need to do is take out this one more province, which once Ashikaga takes it, has no fort on it, and then blockade the strait, and they can't even get to you to stop you from taking the war goal. Everything after that point you can do simply by invading actual Japan, And once Ashikaga actually absorbs everyone else, they might have about 40,000 force limit. Right now, I have more than that. So as long as you can get a toehold, there's nothing to worry about. And plus, you're Korea. Your navy is going to be better than most of the Japanese navy no matter what. So that is Japan. Next, let's talk about colonialism. So I went and I grabbed the first 3 ideas of exploration. Try and get the first 3 ideas so you can jump up here, drop a colony here. Invade, I don't remember what this guy's name is, but that way you can use him as a launch pad to reach the new world. The reason why is in the current patch, just like the previous one, you cannot spawn colonialism just seeing the new world. You have to have a colony on it. So, as you can see, it's arriving in 12 days. Once it's arrived, I can go back in and look at it, and I will now qualify to spawn colonialism. So you actually have to get a colony there. With any luck, in a couple of months, I'll have colonialism spawn, and then I won't have to actually develop it. Now, if you actually have to conquer everything in Manchuria like I did, no vassals or anything else, you're probably going to hurt for admin. So don't state a lot of things, but also don't state a lot of things just for colonialism's sake. And then once you have the admin and colonialism is embraced, state everything up. With that being said, you are now pretty much caught up, and it's time to now talk about the Age of Reformation. You see, the Age of Reformation is the time when Ming explodes. And I mean explodes in a glorious fireball. What you are looking for is for their mandate to hit 80, and then they'll pass a reform. They do it every time. The problem is they're not anticipating the chaos that's going to come from it. They're going to have rebels spawn pretty much continuously for the next 20 years. On top of that, while their mandate will drop to about 20, they're going to have an event that drops it by another 20. Meaning at that moment, once those rebels start spawning, you're watching them. Because their army is going to start depleting itself as well as their manpower, fighting these rebels when they're taking 50% increased damage. They're going to be slaughtered. And then after that point, once they actually try and start stabilizing a little bit by fighting these rebels, that's when you invade. At that moment, you choose to attack them. And your goal is to take Beijing and take it from them. Whether you actually take any other land does not matter as much as taking Beijing. Because as long as you can do that, you will shatter whatever mandate growth they might have, because they will have a debuff for having these rebels be spawning. So you're going to force them to explode. So I'm going to go ahead and keep playing because I need to get to the point where they're actually about to explode and get my army up to scratch and be ready for it so I can actually fight them. Now, I will see you guys in a little bit, but hopefully, with any luck, it'll be a interesting time to come back to. See you guys then. And welcome back, everybody. So it is time to make Ming explode. Before I get to that, though, let's talk about a couple of things. First off, I did take Mongolia, and you should try to during the Age of Discovery. Whether or not you can or not is going to depend on how fast you can move, but if you can, it is absolutely an amazing thing to take because they have a lot of development, a lot of land, and they're not that hard to get loyal, and then that way you can use them and their troops to fight Ming as well. On top of that, Ashikaga, as you can see, is definitely consolidating, but while they consolidate, they are losing their troop numbers because their force limit is going down, and they don't have their subjects to pick up the slack. So again, just wait, let them take care of it, because even now I can take them on. However, you want to make certain that no matter what you do, you are ready to go with as much manpower as you can, everything ready to make Ming explode. Because if you don't make Ming explode, the rest of your game is going to be a lot harder. Once you're ready, go ahead and cancel the tributary status. I've been refusing to pay tribute for a couple of years now. Wait for the end of the month, because then you'll be able to declare using the Mandate of Heaven CB, and go for it. At this point, they're really not going to be able to stop me. I outnumber them, I have better troops than them, they have more cannons, but that's about it. And let's go ahead and wait for the diplomat so I can do it, and let's go. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording again because, as usual, it's not exactly entertaining to watch me sit here and wait and watch a fort. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it. I'll see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. So the war is now done. It was a pretty easy fight, and you can tell that because only a third of all of my casualties were from actual combat. The rest were due to attrition. So yeah, that was incredibly easy. And Mongolia took the brunt of the fighting because for some reason they thought they were going to be an easy target. But it is time to peace out. And what I am taking is pretty simplistic. I'm taking Canton, I'm taking Beijing, I'm taking this province right here because it allows me to release a vassal that has cores all over here, and I'm taking this province because it has a fort. Now, these two provinces in particular are important because they're vital provinces for mandate growth. So by taking these, I am permanently making sure Ming will never have mandate again. And I want to keep it that way. I want them to be an easy target for me to come in later and just punch a lot more out of them. But more importantly, you'll notice there's another thing in here that's reducing that mandate growth by a lot more than those two cities. Specifically, devastation. That is huge. That is also why I'm not taking any other land. You see, devastation will naturally go down on its own, but it goes down a lot more if you have a fort. A fort will make it go down very quickly. But since I'm taking their forts, the devastation here will only really go down either through a very long time, or if they dev it. So if I take all of this land with all of this devastation and just let them have it, they have to deal with it. And that's what I'm going to be doing. If your war ends up like this, and their navy is out, if you can push them to, instead of blockading your own coast, because that also causes devastation, but to blockade their own, even better, because they will cause devastation in their own lands as long as it's occupied. But in that case, it's not needed. And unfortunately, I can't push this any further because Ayutthaya is about to take Canton, and I need that province. So I'm going to go ahead and peace out. Now, what you do with this land is kind of up to you, whether you own it yourself or you release a subject to do it. Like down here, you do have Yue, which you can release, but unfortunately, they don't actually have that many natural cores. So not exactly an important thing. However, up here, I'm definitely going to be releasing Jin, as that will be a person that I can reconquer some decent cores with. As you can see right there. There's also a guy with Beijing, who is, I'm trying to remember his name, Yan, I believe it is. Yeah, Yan it is. Because I'm still behind in my admin points, so if you do not want to do this, you don't have to. But there is an advantage to doing so. You see, they're still having rebels being fired all the time, and they're going to until they get to 75 mandate, which is going to be really hard for them. While their events will fire that'll just give them 5 mandate, it spawns a rebel stack every time they do it. Meaning every time they do it to try and get more mandate, they're making Yan have rebels. And if I can get Yan separatist rebels to fire and then take over the land, I have free land that I don't have to pay for. Not the biggest thing in the world, but can be very useful. So I'm going to go ahead and think about releasing Yue down here, because it's not that important, but I don't know if I necessarily want to core it right now. And I'm going to start taking a look at Japan, because now it's time to consolidate there too. And I'm going to move on a little bit. And the last little bit of advice I can give is, unfortunately, I did not spawn colonialism, because as you can see, I don't have a province there. The reason why is because it hit about December of that year, or November, and rebels, or locals, spawned and destroyed my colony right before the tick happened, which made it so suddenly I didn't have a colony there when it spawned. Not paying attention, it saved. So unfortunately, I can't get colonialism. If you do this, make sure you put somebody over there to defend your colony or take out the natives, if for no other reason to not have this happen to you, because it was kind of frustrating. But with all of that being said, let's go ahead and pause it again and continue forward so I could show you the next and largely final step, because then you can see where you're going with this. See you soon. And welcome back, everybody. So in the meantime, during my peace and truce with Ming, I attacked Japan, took their 2 southern islands here, this one right here, and then this province. So yeah, definitely walked all over Japan. And now it's time to go back after Ming. Now I wanted to point this out just because I'm not sure how many of you have actually played Ming. The way their disaster works is they will keep having rebels spawn until they hit 75 mandate, and have no rebels. Well, the AI is dumb. I mean, it's incredibly dumb. Because it got itself up to about 84 mandate, which was great for it, right? But it still had rebels. And then it passed another reform, figuring, I have the mandate, let's do it. So it will not survive. Unless you get very unfortunate and it has both of those things by happenstance at the same time, that disaster is going to keep going. Just keep an eye on the mandate, and if you see it jump up by about 30 out of nowhere, it's out of the disaster. But with this being done, yeah, it's time to go back in. And at this point, I'm probably going to still go after the Mandate of Heaven despite all of these cores I can reconquer, because I would rather them give them to me naturally just because, yeah, I punched a bunch of land out of them. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of this. I'm going to declare on them, and they'll move their capital here. So this is as far as you need to push. Not very far into China whatsoever. And here, just take any land that is not either your vassals that can be spit out, like here, there's another guy, but you take all the land that is Ming directly. Don't try and take stuff that you're going to end up getting for free later on, because they will eventually have people being spit out of them, or Shun will come out of here and you can punch it out of them. So I'm going to go ahead and declare, and I'll see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. So it's post-Ming War and then post-Shun War, because in the middle of the Ming fight, Shun decided to go independent, meaning I had to attack them to get all of these cores here, and now I'm integrating Mongolia, Jin, and Yan. During the Ming War, I also took this province and this province to release Qi and Yang, meaning I now have them as well, so I have most of northern China and a chunk of southern China. At this point, I'm just simply going to be integrating my vassals. It's going to take some time, but I'm integrating them. And I'm waiting for then my truce timer with Ming to drop off, because at this point, once I have Beijing and then Canton being my territory, it is time to actually take the mandate. It's no longer time to simply punch Ming, but actually to just wipe them out completely and take the mandate for myself. And while most people might not think that this is a smart idea with the old guides, now it's actually really strong. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the point where my truce is up and I have some vassals integrated. But during that time, I wanted to say this. Move your capital to Pyongyang once you have the admin points and you're not behind an admin. The reason why is because you're going to be ending up stealing a lot of dev out of your vassals to make your integration easier and cheaper. And let's be honest, if you're going to develop any city through oppressing your subjects and stealing from them, Pyongyang is definitely the city that you're going to be developing like that. Just saying. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording, move my capital, start stealing development, and I'll see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. As you can see, I now hold the Mandate of Heaven, meaning I will be the Emperor of China once I get done with this whole warlord mess. But for now, I have it. This is going to be more useful later on, because as you can see, my mandate growth is kind of bad, but that's going to fix itself once I can get a hold of Nanjing and Canton, which really is not going to take a whole lot of time. What is more important, however, is fixing the warlord problem, which is incredibly easy if you have the mandate. Before I get to that, though, I do want to point something out, because I took Liang and Qi here for a very particular reason. That is because Ayutthaya kept pushing into Ming. If you have somebody aggressively pushing into Ming with you, it might be worth it to take extra vassals, because then you'll know you'll have that land, it increases your force limit, and allows you to fight them a lot easier. If, however, everyone else is being passive, you can ignore them. And the reason why is because once you have the mandate, you can wipe them out stupidly easy. Because here's the thing. As long as you border somebody and you have the mandate, you have a new CB, the Unified China CB. The reason this is so important isn't because it shows superiority or it has lower aggressive expansion, though that's important, it's not the key. The key is actually in the yellow text right here. Every occupied province in the China subcontinent gains our core while we are the war leader. Meaning, let's say I actually attack Chu here. Now, I have no cores on their land. None. However, the moment I siege down and occupy that province, it becomes my core. Which means, once I conquer that territory, it is treated just as if I diplomatically annex them. In other words, no autonomy, no separatism, and I can simply state it up without paying a single admin point. It is just mine. So as soon as you get the mandate, you can rapidly consolidate everything. The only thing you need to be aware of, well, two things you need to be aware of. First off, make certain that you have at least Beijing to try and be able to hold your mandate in the positives. You want it to be over 50, so you're not taking these penalties, because if you do, it's going to make it harder to consolidate back together. The other thing to keep in mind is you need to make certain your economy is strong enough to be able to support some decent advisors. Otherwise, your meritocracy will plummet, and if your meritocracy plummets, everything starts going awry. So just be sure to try and keep those two things in mind before you take it. But once you have it, you're able to rapidly, and I mean rapidly, take over about all of this land without any issue. From Dali over here to Wu, and from Shun down to Ayutthaya about right there, you're able to get everything very, very quickly. So in this point, I'm going to go ahead and get my troops back into order. I'm going to start integrating Yue here, because they're my subject. And I'm going to then focus on consolidating everybody else. And once Ming's truce with me is up, which is going to take a bit because they're mad at me, I might attack somebody else or attack one of their tributaries just to make that go a little bit faster. But with that, I should be able to then bring you guys back and then show you the final advantage to having the Mandate of Heaven. So I will see you guys in just a second. And welcome back, everybody. So I've consolidated most of the Chinese land except for what Ming owns and then their vassals. But I wanted to say this because I started doing it, then realized I should probably mention it. If you want, you can go ahead and take these guys as vassals and then release them by breaking the vassalization. You'll take an opinion malice unless you use the scootage here to make them really mad. And as long as they're over 50, you won't take an opinion penalty. But you'll just have to pay 25 prestige, and suddenly they're free. And using that, you'll be able to use the Unified China CB and integrate them without having to pay any Diplo. Now, there is one tag, however, that you cannot do it. And just to make certain that, China bans this video, it is over here on the nation of Taiwan, on Formosa. These guys are also Chinese and would qualify. The problem is that since you do not actually border them, you can't use it. The only way you can is if you colonize one of these provinces early on, so that when it does spawn, you are actually bordering them. Instead, just diplomatically vassalize them and integrate them that way. They're not exactly a huge tag, so it's not going to be the end of the world. Now, with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and continue because I got to finish integrating you, because that way I can border Ayutthaya, because, again, you have to border them to actually have that CB available. And I'm going to go ahead and make certain China is back to where it's supposed to be. Also, because I did it and I didn't talk about it before, you have a monument in your original capital that you absolutely want to upgrade. The reason why is, as you can see here, it'll give you a base monarch admin skill of +2. This does stack within here, having one of your reforms here add another +1. So as long as you can get to that point where you'll have both later on, you'll be perfectly fine, and you'll have at least +3 in all admin on all of your future rulers regardless. The last thing to say is that you can take, before you take the Mandate of Heaven, the States General, and then take the Mandate of Heaven and have both of these privileges. However, you cannot take States General after that. So if you want to use this to be able to pick between your heirs or have it election-based or not, make sure you do this before you take the Mandate, and you'll be able to keep it afterwards. But with all that being said, I'll see you guys in just a little bit. Welcome back, everybody. So this is the point of the guide where we wrap everything up to make it easier on you guys, so you guys can play the game, have the best strategies, and the best place to start is, of course, with your mandate. Since you have the Mandate of Heaven, having tributaries will make it grow faster. The thing is that as Korea, unlike Ming, you do not start with any tributaries. On top of that, all the people you border for a very long time, you have to conquer. You're not looking to tributize anybody because you have more important things to do, and if you tributize them, you can't conquer them, which obviously is a problem. Well, now that you finally have consolidated most of China, it is now time to start grabbing the smaller people that you can and making them tributaries. Now, as you can see, I have quite a few of them here, but in order to have a tributary of any kind, you have to directly border them. The way to do that, simply either keep exploration ideas from when you tried to spawn colonialism earlier, or get expansion ideas around now. You can simply drop a colonist somewhere, and that will give you the border you need. You do not need to keep the colony. You can immediately go back into the colony, recall, and then abandon it, and it will not actually remove any of your tributaries unless they feel like they can take you on, then they'll break it. Meaning you're able to get your tributary number up, which will help expand the number of mandate growth that you get out of it, making your life a whole lot easier. Now, the reason why you're doing this is because mandate is huge for you, not just to avoid these penalties, because while getting the cores on all of China was nice, that's not the end of it. You see, there's an achievement where in order for you to get it, you have to own all of the Shinto, Confucian, and Buddhist provinces in the world. Well, obviously, Confucian you can largely get by conquering China. Shinto you can get because Japan's pretty easy, especially since you can use Ainu to get onto their islands, meaning their navies will not help them. The bigger issue is the Buddhist territories. While you can use imperialism for that, there is actually an easier way, and that came with the current patch. You see, they modified the Mandate of Heaven, specifically the last reform here. After you've reformed every single one of them, you then are able to use what leftover mandate you have, or you gain, to turn a tributary vassal into a normal vassal. Meaning you would be able to use your excess mandate to make Banjar here, that I just made into a tributary, into an actual vassal. For 14 mandate, which is not very much, you're able to convert them over. On top of that, while you would normally have the anger from vassals for conquering them and forcing them into a status of being a tributary or into a vassal, you don't have that when you click this button. They will have no opinion malice whatsoever. So you can plan ahead, tributize somebody, and then when you're ready, improve relations with them, whatever you want to do, make them into a vassal, wait 10 years and integrate them. On top of that, it's not just the smaller guys, but even Dai Viet here would be a tributary of mine voluntarily. Meaning, once I get to that last reform, I click a button, they're a subject. Then I can diplomatically annex all of this. And given the fact that there are two ideas plus a policy, namely administrative and influence, that would reduce the diplomatic annexation cost to 45%, and then the privilege in here that'll drop it another 5%, means you're really not spending that much. You're spending 5 Diplo points for every development. And since you moved your capital to Pyongyang over here, you're able to steal all the development you want and put it to where it should be. Meaning you're paying even less to get rid of countries like Dai Viet. This allows you to go through Southeast Asia, all these Buddhist countries that you'll be paying tons of aggressive expansion to push into for nothing. Nothing at all. On top of that, you can do this to people you force into a tributary status, which can be pretty large, including somebody like, say, Russia here. You can force them into it and then convert even them into a normal vassal, but the mandate would be 40% of whatever their development is. So here, they have a total of 1,000, which means it would cost 400 mandate. So they're a bit too large for that. But I can find other people here that are going to be less than that I could just instantly convert to a vassal for me. It gets pretty extreme how large these guys can be. So you're going to use this, forcing, say, Malacca over here into vassalage as a tributary, then turn them into a normal vassal, and by doing that, you pay none of the aggressive expansion other than if you have to actually force them to become a tributary. And then you're very easily capable of conquering all of the Buddhist countries, and the Confucian and the Shinto, which are easy on themselves. Even pushing all the way over here, using that, allowing yourself to vassalize all the way to where you can, and unless the Timurids are a massive power, which happened in more than one of my test games, at that point, if they are, you just use imperialism to get to where you need to go, and you're done. The other achievements are pretty straightforward. One requires you to harmonize with 7 religions. Well, if you look around you, you have Tengri, Vajrayana, Shinto, Animist. If you go with exploration, you can go down into the Totemist, Nahuatl, and Inca, and Mayan if you want to, and get them as well. And then you'll also have Christianity spawn. You'll have Muslim and Hindu. You'll have plenty that you can go ahead and grab just from around you. That's not an overly difficult one, it just takes time. The last achievement you can get is the Chosen one. Oh, sorry. It is the Turtles All the Way Down. Sorry, I got the name wrong. The Chosen one is taking all 3 of the religions, the Buddhist, Confucian, and Shinto, and owning all the provinces. The Turtles All the Way Down requires you to have 125% ship durability. If you do not take the mandate, in order to get that, you have to get several ideas, such as naval ideas, maritime ideas, quality ideas. It's pretty bad. However, if you don't want to do that, you simply get to this part of your national ideas, which is 10%, and then with the Mandate of Heaven, click this button. You'll now have 130% and get the achievement. Not very difficult at all. But with that, you guys should be more than capable of getting 3 achievements with Korea, which a lot of people don't seem to have. And on top of that, you get to have a really fun game going from somebody that really shouldn't be conquering anything at all to dominating. I mean, absolutely dominating Asia. To the point where you are taking over a lot of India, a lot of Southeast Asia, and a lot of China, and then Manchuria. And even if Russia does come over, a lot of Siberia too if you get bored. Meaning you become the empire. But with that, I hope you guys like this guide. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I will absolutely be making more of it. If you want to see a particular country get covered, or if you want to see a particular mechanic get covered, let me know in a comment below. But again, thank you all guys for making it to 1,000 subscribers. That was amazing, and I really love this community. But I want to say thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful day.